if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species from another planet.
I was spotting down the firing range for several shooters when all of a sudden I saw a large, hairy creature walking from right to left.
Alrighty. We are on, folks.
What's going on?
Hello.
Hi, guys.
And you're all righty. Well, so this is episode 13 on the Accounting Brigade, and this is like a part 2 of the last episode that we started on episode 12, which we'll kind of forget that. We had a lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah, I completely erased that one.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll this one will be a whole lot better. Johnny pretty much has everything in his house unplugged. He has no power running on anything except to his computer.
That's about what it takes, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all good. Again, we're not professionals at this podcasting stuff or videos, and you'll see. Definitely, we're not professional videographers in the field either. But you know what, though? We want to kind of go back to the field investigation that Happy, Johnny, Scott, and myself went on just a few weeks ago, where we had a very, very interesting danger. Well, to me, I call it danger close, just because the distance of sighting. And part of my 9 to 5, life every day, I keep trying to just kind of compartmentalize what I saw, what happened, transpired out there, and just I don't know. It's kind of like I'm still trying to figure out. I'm like, man, what the heck was that really it? And then sure enough, but you know what? I was less than 25 yards from Johnny, and then even Scott. But anyways, we're gonna start off with the account of what happened that day, and Scott's gonna kind of kick things off because they were there before I arrived. So we're just gonna take you, the viewers, and all that through the chronological order of what happened. So go ahead, Scott.
All right. So on that first day, Johnny and I got out there early. We did sort of scouting around in some areas that we hadn't really walked in. We moved down into a lower area that was I'd been to prior on another part, but not where we were. It starts to move down into a swampy area, a lot of game trails. We moved into the creek area, and I moved down onto a sandbar, and that's where I discovered some handprints at the very end of the sandbar, and you could just tell where two hands, a right hand and a left hand, had been pressed into the sand. It was too wet to cast, but you could see them, and it was fresh. From that point, we kept moving around, moved back up the hill, investigating areas that we hadn't really walked into much, especially during the day. And we came to what appeared to be a possible structure. And under that structure was a deer skull. I believe it was a 10-point deer.
Yeah,
it still had the antlers attached to it. It was very fresh as far as how long it had been taken down or whatever. It was just the skull, and it was laying underneath the perceived wood structure that we've seen.
Describe that structure, Scott.
Well, as far as tree structures are concerned, it's more or less an asterisk, if you will. It had 2, 3, 4 crisscrossed tree trunks, probably 2-3 inches in diameter, all twisted around a little bit, with one big one going right down the middle, and all the rest of them were kind of built around it. It was probably four and a half feet off the ground, and the deer skull with the antlers was resting under it, which was kind of odd. Johnny saw the deer antlers, as we were moving up to that little perceived structure.
Yeah. With a whole lot of this, including the handprints he's talking about and the structure, I'm going to post on the Facebook page. I'm going to post all these pictures and all the video together. It doesn't do any of it justice if we try to play it while we're doing this through StreamYard. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not on the Facebook page, go to the Facebook page, and I'm going to put up everything we talk about tonight. That way you can take a really good look at it.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be in somewhat of an order as we found it. So that'd be real good as well. After that, we kept moving through the forest, looking around, seeing what we could find, and we ended up back up by the vehicles. Hung out there for a good while, and Joe came on up, and Joe and Johnny decided they were going to walk back into the area that we had explored and checked out on the previous trip and found the beds. I decided I'm going to hang out by the vehicles and just chill out for a while. It was hot, drink some water, and that's pretty much the first part of the day. A lot of scouting. Those are some of the big highlights that we found. And I'm turning it over to Joe and Johnny to go from there, and I'll pick up when my time comes back.
Joe, can you pop the map? Can you make me bigger so people can see the map behind me? I know it took us 45 minutes just to get this picture up, but
Good. All righty.
It doesn't have to be super clear.
Is that you, Johnny? There?
I just want people to be able to get an idea. Can you see me?
All right. Don't make me screw something up by pushing all these buttons. You know what happened?
That's just stop right there. That's good.
Yeah, okay. Just go with that.
Okay, leaving it alone. Leave it alone.
I was sitting on a power line type area, which is really a gas line, and we'll go from there.
Right. Well, what Scott's talking about, if we go by the first time we went out there, this is where where we parked all the vehicles at and where we had the interactions at night. Well, this is the side of the woods where all the stuff came from, the vocals and the rock throw and everything else. Well, me and Scott were basically up in this area. So we searched all this area that we didn't look at before. And then Scott stayed here. Happy had already left. He came out there with us for a little while, then he ended up having to go back to work the next day, so he left. But me and Joe basically took the same path as we all did the first time. These little hash marks going into where the bed area is. And that's basically what we were trying to do, was find. We were just looking around, number one, and we wanted to see if there was any more beds. And we wanted to see if those beds had been disturbed or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, one really cool thing was we found the second bed, and there was a lot of one big part of this. It may have affected things, I don't know, but they were clear cutting. There was a logging crew, like on the other side of the creek, but still on the property owner's property. And the property owner had actually taken the time to go in and put up the little pink ribbons around the trees.
Yep.
To make sure these guys didn't cut on the side of where all the beds were, which to me was great, that he was actually taking things seriously. And so we were just checking that out, and we walked towards the creek, and that same creek is where me and Joe last time we were walking, and something jumped up and ran for 20 yards and then stopped, and then we didn't hear anything. So we were kind of thinking, okay, that was weird, blah, blah, blah. Well, we were going towards that same creek.
And I think we had been out there, maybe 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And we were pretty much done because we were walking back.
Pretty
And I
much
had
got to the
stopped
creek.
and got since we've been going there 2 different times, I think we found 6 deer skulls altogether. And from one side of the last deer skull to the other side, there's only about, you drew a line maybe 2 acres apart. So you're talking about maybe 2 acres where we found 6 deer skulls, which is a little odd in itself. But I had stopped and looked at this deer skull and picked it up and looked at it and blah, blah, blah. And like an idiot, I put my phone in my pocket because I was recording in front of me with my phone. And then I had the GoPro strapped to my pack in the back. And I looked at the deer skull and I probably walked maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 yards, something like that. And Joe was behind me and to my left. And we could kind of see each other if we moved around a little bit, but we weren't like directly looking at each other. But I walked, and for whatever reason, I stopped and looked to my right, and I looked right at it. The only thing I figure is I felt it, or maybe I caught movement. I don't know. But I know I stopped dead in my tracks, and I looked to my right, and there it was. It was, I want to guesstimate probably 30 yards, 35 yards, maybe something like that. But it was definitely it was a juvenile. It was only, the hard part about it is it kind of looked like it was crouched down a little bit, and he was so black that I couldn't see his legs. So I don't know if I don't think he was standing all the way up, but it was probably about 4 feet tall. But I could see at first when I looked right at him, it was just almost like a black silhouette, but an obvious black silhouette. And then when my eyes focused, I could see like the gray in his face, and then in his left hand was in front of his body. So I could see the gray in his hand. And then I could see his eyes, or like the very, very bottom of his eyes. And Scott's buddy did a really good job in that picture. That's exactly how I saw his face, where it was like shades of gray from the top down. But it was he's got a light gray face, and his hair it was super black. So I didn't have my phone in my hand, and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't want to reach in my pocket while he's that close to me. So the only thing I could think of is to pretend like I didn't see him. So I turned around, I turned my back to him because I've got the GoPro on my back, and I'm kind of going like this, just hoping the GoPro is going to get him. And then I reach in my pocket and I grab my phone, I turn on the video, and I turn back around, and I can't find him. And I say,
that's when you said you just saw one. You already turned back towards me, and you gave a direction saying that it was to your rear, So
well, after watching the video, I know what happened. When I turned, if I'm looking at him, I turn to my left to show my back to him. So the camera's coming around this way. Well, he must have went to my left also, because Joe's behind me to my left.
Yep.
And after looking for this guy for maybe 5 minutes, that's when Joe sees him. It walks in front of him. So that's why I missed him. If he would have gone, we'd be on Channel 2 News right now. If he would have went right instead of went left, I would have nailed him. The GoPro would have got him. But just my luck, as I'm turning, he's walking left.
Yeah.
So I didn't get him. But there was no doubt in my mind what I was seeing.
Yeah. So I remember as soon as you turned around, you didn't shout. You spoke very clear.
Right.
What you had just seen. Distance and direction.
Joe,
I was
here.
Huh?
I said, Joe, they're here.
Yeah, and
Swear to God, I just saw one.
So I guess in a military sense, we were kind of walking almost in a wedge formation. However, I was, to your rear right. As soon as you said that, I moved to, pretty much a file, directly in line, with you and the direction that you saw it at. Um, as soon as you turned around, remember we had to cross another small little creek to get to the spot where you saw it,
Right.
or where you saw it standing or crouching at, So Johnny, yeah, he didn't run, in that direction. He moved with a purpose to the location where this thing was.
Well, that's kind of where I screwed up, because in my head, you were behind me to my left, so
Yeah.
I didn't think he would go that way.
Yeah.
So I went, and what I did right after it happened, and then I scanned to try to see if I could find him, and I didn't. And me and Joe met up, and I said, "Hey, turn my GoPro off," because my biggest fear was we got him on video, but something was going to screw something up with the SD card or something, because I've got hours worth of audio from out there that's completely unretrievable for whatever reason. So the only thing I could think of was getting Joe to turn that camera off so nothing happened to it.
Yeah.
And he turned it off, and then we separated again, and I went right.
Yep.
Kind of back towards the creek more, and I told him, I'll post all these videos later. I tried posting them before, but nobody knew what was going on. So apparently they didn't watch the one before that. So we'll put them all together.
Yeah.
But so we kind of we came together, we turned the GoPro off, and then I kind of went right to get over the creek where I saw him. And the plan was I wanted to go over there and see if I could find prints, just mark it. And I told Joe, I said, all I'm going to do is try to mark if there's any tracks, and then we're going to back out, because I don't want to freak him out. Well, little did I know, he didn't run off. He went, because Joe kind of kept going left and back towards camp. I went over the creek and made my way in kind of like a circle like this. So we were coming together. So that's when we're communicating back and forth. And then he says, so I couldn't even hear him, really.
Yeah.
You're looking at him right now?
Yeah. At that point when Johnny was now to my right, and I was moving towards what best can be described as berms that are made by big skidders when they go and cut through section of timber. They'll leave about thigh high, waist high mounds of dirt, and these things are kind of like this. Well, I caught movement of a very dark, I describe as like a black dirty tire, like one that been run like through some mud and whatnot, but it's very, very clear this was black, moving. It was going right to left on the other side of these berms, and all I had was distance and direction, right? So I shouted out to Johnny, obviously 12 o'clock, 50 yards, I don't even think it was that far, but anyways, it was just moving, wasn't running. Now the funny thing is, and this is where my mind is trying to replay this whole catching movement. This thing wasn't breaking contact like how we would, we were trained like in the military, right?
No, not at all.
It was just a very purposeful walk or stride, no running. It wasn't bobbing and weaving or anything like that. Um, it, it, it was not swaying its arms drastically, not like these, like Bigfoot poses or pictures and videos. I mean, it was just like a still silhouette going. It didn't look at me, because all I caught was, right shoulder or left shoulder, left side of its head, you know, um, moving broadside. And so, what's very interesting about this, because we never discussed head shape or anything like that until Johnny, um, and I were back at the camp, you know. But yeah, the point, I guess, of
Conical head shape.
yeah, the cone or whatever. I mean, that was
It looked to me, it kind of to me looked like a cowlick. Is really what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the hard part. And after seeing this during the day in the woods, and then going back through the video, it is no wonder that we're not catching up to these things. If if we weren't out there looking for them, I don't even know if I would have taken a second glance when I first saw it.
yeah, and
Because it's so black and it was so.
Now it stands out, doesn't it?
It was just a part. It was a part of the scenery.
yeah,
But
and
it stuck out
know-
because it was just right there in the open by itself. And then
Yep.
of course, I know what I'm looking for.
and it was quiet. That was the thing. There was no heavy like footsteps, foot stomps or nothing like that.
Until it wanted us to keep following it.
Yeah, so we're just about to get to that point, because so I probably saw it moving for at least 15 yards, and then it got into some thicker brush, saplings that typically grow over old logging roads, so as so after I shot out distance, direction, movement, and direction that it was moving to. Johnny now comes up behind me, and we're pointing and we're looking at the direction. This thing is now moving back towards the power line, the direction that we had come. Now things are out of sight, and of course now Johnny's standing next to me. He's like asking me, what did I see, blah blah blah, and we're trying to compare. We're giving each other details of kind of like the color, the height, and whatnot. And he's asking me, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the other side of this berm." But anyways, then you start hearing very obvious, loud, I don't know, limbs breaking,
That's
things
exactly what
crashing.
It sounded like trees breaking. And I
Yeah,
even say
it was
in the video that if there was
Yeah.
any animal around, that's got to be it. Because if there was any animal around, we had already made enough noise to where it'd be gone by now.
Yeah,
But it's
and
like me and him, because we didn't just run straight after it. We came together right there at the creek, just
Yep.
near that berm, and we talked about it. And then we started moving. Well, it's almost like we weren't moving fast enough for it, because then that's when it started breaking stuff.
yeah,
And we're like, oh,
yeah,
crap.
And we could hear these noises, the brakes and whatnot. And they were, what John, you would say, I mean, they're ground level. It's not like it was high up in trees and branches being broken up by up treetops. No, it was ground level.
I think it happened maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and it was pretty obvious. So, anyways, we start following that direction, or at least the path that I had seen this thing moving on, which other side of this berm on this old roadbed. And we get to a small little creek. I mean, it's probably less than a foot wide, right? Or maybe 18 inches. At some points, just a small little runoff. And we look down in this black dirt, mud, And sure enough, I mean, man, it was just like what we thought was 5 toes or something. I mean, very noticeable. I don't know. I mean, best description of them is like digit imprints.
Yeah, it
And
was the first thing I thought it was just tracks. And in the video, I say track, but then after I got down to look at them, it was literally like somebody took 4 fingers and went right in the mud, just as fresh as it can get. And we even took video. I said, Joe, look at this, and I stuck my hand like next to it and did the same thing in the mud, and it looked pretty much exactly the same. In fact,
Yeah.
the ends of its fingers look like about the size of my fingers. So, which to me, from what I saw, would tell you that they've got bigger hands, obviously.
Yeah.
That's a juvenile. Yeah.
Right. He was obviously a juvenile, but his hands were as big as mine. But that blew, just one thing after another. Obviously, I just saw it.
Yeah.
There's no second guessing. And then Joe sees it.
Yeah.
And then we go to the point to where he sees it cross, and then we find those.
Yeah.
And then we're hearing more breaking up.
Yeah,
up
as we're
ahead of us.
crouched. Yeah, as we're crouched down, trying to, get this on video and whatnot, and and this is where the embarrassing thing about this whole incident. I mean, here I thought I'd hit the red button, right? I thought I was recording. I had everything going. Nope, not a thing. I mean, the whole time I'm telling, hey, Johnny, come here and talk about this print real quick. And I'm zooming in back and forth on them. And nope, record button was not recording. And, I'm not a professional videographer and whatnot. And, I don't know. This whole incident was, I mean, man, I don't know if it's adrenaline or what. I mean, when it gets you, I mean, you're all of a sudden, you're on high alert.
Well, I'll tell you straight up, I never in a million years, I was talking to Happy today, I never in a million years thought it would unfold like this. Never thought I'd catch one out in the open. And then I never thought it would be 2 different times with 2 other witnesses. I mean, it was just so, and we're not done yet, but from the get-go.
No. This story's still ongoing here.
Yeah, so obviously, now I mean we're still following this, this path, this old roadway, right? But we're still hearing crackling and breaking, limbs up ahead. And it just happens to be always out of sight, but just close enough that we can hear it. And so the wind wasn't blowing. It's not like it was it was super windy or anything like that. It was just very
I mean, it was what it was. It was obvious. It was obvious.
Yeah, it was calculated noises.
Broken.
And so it just seems like we were playing leapfrog, right? This thing was making a purposeful noise. We would move to that location, and as we moved, it moved. And we started realizing, we're getting back. We're actually heading back towards Scott and location of our vehicles and where the makeshift camp was set up. And we weren't running like chasing after this thing. It was just hey, we were just walking. A lot of times we were looking at the ground. We'd stop. We'd scan, do a 360 scan, and then continue moving, and then stop doing and repeat. And then when we realized we're getting closer to the power line, because you could tell that the obviously the trees and the vegetation was coming to an end. We were trying to find an exit point, into the power line, and then. But I think so. That's where Scott kind of picks back up on his his part of the story here.
Well,
All right.
Before this,
Go ahead.
I called him.
That's right.
Called Scott on the phone and said, "Hey man, we just saw one. It's headed your way." I think I even say on the video, I'm like, which is great. I say, "Oh man, Scott is gonna kick himself for not coming out here with us."
Yeah.
And I call and I tell him that, and I tell him, "Hey, just keep an eye out. We're coming out that way. In fact, we think it's trying to take us out that way." And then I hang up with him, and then we keep on walking.
So from that point, I'm sitting there and by the vehicles, wind's blowing. Get up and get my binoculars on the field every now and then the opposite direction on the clear cut field, I'm watching deer. They're all over the place. I see them run out of the trees and cross. I hear the phone. It's in my truck charging, and so I almost didn't answer it because I thought, junk mail, someone's soliciting, whatever. But I jumped down, answered the phone, and I think I called you back, didn't I? And and he told me I had a sighting. Start watching the tree line. So I had already realized that I couldn't really see anything because the grass was about 2 feet high, and the hill sloped down toward the creek, and you can't really see over the grass. It's kind of a optical illusion, but it blocks you from being able to see. So I jumped up into the back of my pickup truck, and I'm sitting there on the side scanning back and forth. I start to hear Joe and Johnny talking. I could hear them in the woods. Don't know how far away, but I could hear them talking to each other. And I scan back to the right, and I see a bunch of deer. I scan back to the left in the direction that they had left, down toward the creek on their side of the power lines. I see, and it's still astonishing to me because I've had day sightings before. I've had a number of them. But this one was just, I don't know, caught me off guard because I had to process it for a minute. I looked down the tree line with my binoculars, and out of the tree line comes this black mass, low. If I had been standing on the ground, I would have never seen it. Wouldn't have seen it at all at that angle down the hill. Because I was in the truck, I seen it, and it looked weird. I had to process for a minute that it was on all fours, but the legs were bouncing back and forth, and it only came out what appeared to be 3 or 4 yards out into the clearing and stopped. And I could see its head moving back and forth, and then its head turned toward my direction, which would be its left. And so I'll say something about that image in a minute, but then at that point right there, when it looked to the left, I then seen Johnny and Joe stepping out of the tree line, probably 10 yards away.
Jesus.
And this thing made a left turn in the low crawl position and went right back into the tree line. I started yelling and whistling and pointing at them. They were too far away. It's probably 150 yards, 200 yards, something like that, somewhere in there. And they just kept walking toward me till they finally heard me, and I told them. But the thing that I was going to point out is the head looked weird, and it didn't make sense until Johnny had that picture and made the description of the grayish white face and the cowlick top type head. That's what I saw on the head of this thing, low crawling, or some groups in talk spider walk.
Right.
Okay, it spider walked or low crawled out of that wood line. It looked to the left. It saw them, and I didn't know it was really leading them back. But when it saw them, it turned around and went back into the wood line, just like that. And I could see. Yeah, it was. That's why I started yelling and whistling. It was right there, but you couldn't see it either because of the tall grass, and it was down in the low crawl position.
Right.
But I did see a whitish color in the head that turned, and it looked pointed or something pointy or something on top of the head as it turned its head. I would have never noticed it in the tall grass had it not moved its head to be able to recognize that. And then when you brought it up describing your view of its face and head, it made sense after that. So from this point, they came walking on back up, telling me everything that happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. They start chilling out, trying to process, and I'm still sitting on the back of my truck, and it's like 40 minutes go by, approximate. Now I'm still sitting on the truck, and I'm still looking. I'm facing the creek direction down the hill, and out of that same spot comes a black mass, and I pointed and I said, "There it is again." And they both jumped up, and I still remember. I remember Joe saying, "I see it." And the next thing I know, to my left, Johnny is sprinting down the hill with the cell phone in his hand as fast as he can run through the water and the mud, because it was all a bog down through there. And he was just hauling butt down that hill as fast as he could to the tree line, and I'll give it to Johnny from there. So I had 2 daytime sightings. They had 2 daytime sightings of the same creature. So what did you get when you got down there?
It was probably whenever you said it, I was facing the other direction. I don't know what I was doing. But when you said, "There it is," and we all turned around, it was probably a third of the way across maybe the power line by then.
Low crawling again, spider walking. Yep.
And it was the weirdest. I still don't even know how to describe it, because it looked like its whole body was in like a Superman position right above the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's
rippling, like flowing as it went. Yeah.
Its body was doing something weird. Like when you think low crawl, you think of something like with his arms out like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But to me, it looked like it was out like this and somehow pushing off, springing off with his feet somehow. It was the weirdest. I have never seen anything that weird in my life.
Yeah.
I think that it was low crawling, doing what they say is it's faster on 4 feet than it is on 2. Right. I mean, it was doing 2 by 2, and that was that ripple motion you were seeing.
Well, it was, and it didn't even, and this is why I think every bit of this was intentional. There was no reason for it to do that.
Mm-mm.
It could have kept on going down and got in the creek and went across the power line. We never would have saw it. It could have
waited a little while longer to dark.
Yeah, it wasn't even dark. It was still 45 minutes to an hour before dark. Yeah. There was absolutely no reason for it to run out in the middle of that like that. And then it didn't just go straight across. It's like it was making all these turns, and I guess all that area kind of had water in it. I don't know if it was just jumping from high spot to high spot, but there was even a point when it got to the other side to where it looked like it turned back towards us and then turned back towards the wood line, got to the wood line, and it didn't go in the wood line. It ran up the wood line away from us and then went in. It wasn't just like a and just went straight across. It was like watching Tetris or something, like living Tetris, just the way I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it was by far the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was so obvious. It was moving about as fast as a dog, I would say, about as fast as a dog or a deer runs, but
not moving the same way at all.
Right. Yeah. The motion was, and
just
the color,
the length of it was really was pretty amazing. You know, from where Scott and I stayed back there at the vehicles and whatnot, you know, from left to right, you know, and we had seen plenty of deer and all that out in that power line and all that. So we kind of know yeah, obviously their size and whatnot. This thing was just
They were deer are much out there on that field. I watched deer all afternoon while y'all were scouting, and
yeah,
deer tower above that grass, and they're light gray. And this thing was jet black.
black. Yeah, yeah, again, like a tire,
Hmm.
you know, and but for it to do that, and so I guess like this thing was going back into the section of woods that you guys were scouting at
All day during
earlier
the day.
during
Yeah,
the day before, obviously before I got there.
yeah.
So was it trying to get back to something? I don't know. I mean, that's just um,
To me, it like part of me says, okay, well maybe it just screwed up. Well, if it screwed up, it had plenty of time to get away if
Yep.
it wanted to, and it could have gone a multitude of different directions to do it. It could have,
Yeah.
and it freaked Joe out, and because I didn't see it do what he saw it, I didn't realize which direction it went. But when I told him where I saw it and then where he saw it, he mentioned this thing's flanking us.
yeah,
Like it wasn't making a beeline to anywhere. Every one of the moves was strategic.
yeah,
And it all seemed intentional, every single bit of it, especially when you look back, and it's almost like the only justification for everything it did could be that it was just so freaked out it didn't know what to do, and it was
Panic, maybe.
But even still, like in the video we put up where me and Joe first come together after I saw it and then he saw it, and it's where we got the screenshots. We're going to put all that up too in the original video so people can take it and look through it. But I'm pretty convinced that we did catch it across the creek back in the wood line down real low, because it's kind of like it's standing up and then it goes down and then it stands up again, and you get, if it's pareidolia, it's really good pareidolia. I mean, it's not
it's a pareidolia on three of us.
right. So it's not going to prove the existence of Sasquatch, but I'm satisfied that that's exactly where it was, and that's what it was when me and Joe came together and we start walking towards that creek, because you could see it and you can see the face in a couple different positions and everything's out. It's the exact same color that we saw. So it's almost like it waited on us to see if we were going to get closer. And then him and we were standing there talking about it. We weren't trying to chase this thing because I thought it was going to be gone.
yeah.
There was no way that I thought it was going to hang around and play games. I thought it was just going to run off. But it's like
I would say
enough.
Yeah, I would say an older, more experienced, if they get made like that, they're gone. But this juvenile, I think, back to the very beginning, when you first confronted it, it was over there near where they were doing the clear cut, something you said a while back. It might be over there watching what they're doing.
Right.
But given that as well, you may have walked up on it because it couldn't hear you.
Well,
because of all that noise.
Yeah.
It wasn't tuned. It wasn't tuned into you. It was, it didn't have any idea y'all were going to be over there, and it certainly didn't have any idea I was going to be on the tree line.
We probably confused it, Johnny, because between the two of us, we only have 3 legs. So.
Yeah.
I see Angie trying to hold it in. So come on, Angie.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No,
But
I mean, I wasn't there, so I'm just so curious. I want to know more, like what it looked like. I know you said it was black. I want to know, was it like shiny black, like a bear, or was it like?
It's a black I've never seen before. It was
absorb the light, like people talk about.
It stood out on the field. Stood out clear as day when I could see over the grass down at it. Couldn't hide.
Shadows.
And the best way I
really
could say
blended to the shadows.
The best thing I could say, Angie, it looked like a new tire without armor on. You know,
So
if that makes
it
sense.
was a matte black. It was like a dull. It wasn't
Yeah.
shiny like a bear. You know, a
But
bear
I
has
said,
an
like,
oily coat.
but it you know, I kind of say almost like a dirty tire, but it's like without armor on.
Chalky gray head
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, so
Chalky gray
it was
black.
warm light,
Yeah.
not
The thing is, that gets me. I mean, I never told Johnny anything about the head shape, until, and then all of a sudden, he was able to give description to Scott's buddies, and then all of a sudden the
Mhm.
picture that we got back, I was like, whoa, that's it, but I saw it like this profile, side, and again, the arms weren't swinging like someone
Mhm.
running away, or
I've read a lot that their arms don't swing like.
yeah, it's kind of like
You told me it looked like a log with arms.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Is what
I mean,
said when
and
I
Was
read.
there hair on the face? Like when you
well,
saw the
I
face?
did not see that, Johnny.
I couldn't tell. What it looked like to me is I could see the bottoms of its eyes. It was really dark at the
Did
bottoms
you
of its
see
eyes.
any whites in the eyes? Just saw
No.
big black.
No. Because like from here to here was in the shadow. Because his head, he was like bent over like this. But I
Mhm.
could see the bottoms of his eyes, and then his face. It was pretty. It was definitely a dark gray, but the difference in between his skin and his hair were so completely drastic that even his hand, because I could see this part of his left hand. He was in front of his body,
Mhm.
and it stuck out like a sore thumb. It was just like his face, because that gray, it wasn't like a dark gray. It was like a lighter. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but there was such a drastic color difference that all that stuck out really good. Now, if he would have been back another 20 yards, I might not have seen his face or his hands at all. But being that close, because when I first saw it, all I saw was black. And then I looked at his head or his face, and then that's when I started focusing in on that. And then I saw his hand, and then I'm like, oh shit. And then the first thing, and that lets you know how, to me, it was not aggressive at all. The last thing that I would ever do if I ever felt intimidated, it didn't matter if I had 700 cameras on my back, I would not turn around and give something my back. There's no way I would do that ever. But it wasn't intimidating looking to me at all, if that says anything. It looked like a scraggly teenager to me.
Mhm.
And then, so I wasn't scared enough or scared at all. I was just excited. And then that's when I turned around and tried to get him on the GoPro. But it was, and I told these guys a couple times that all throughout, since I've started doing this, you get more and more information and you get more and more evidence. And then I had my nighttime sighting, and then, recording the growls and stuff like that. I knew what I was dealing with, but it's the only way I know how to describe it is sometimes, like, you can be driving home from church on a Sunday afternoon and a cop pulls up behind you. You got a Scott that pulls up behind you.
Hello.
And even though you didn't do anything, you still get nervous.
Mhm.
Well, that's what was left in the back of my head. I knew these things were real. I knew I'd seen it. I believed everybody. I was 99% there. After this, there's no more.
Yeah, no doubt.
You are a knower.
There is no one is going to argue with me on whether they exist or not.
Welcome to the club.
They might, but after what we saw, there is no doubt anymore. Like, all that's been, and like I said, I was 99% with everything we experienced. And I'm sure even with Joe, even what he saw, there's always that little bit like, what if I'm wrong? what if somehow? What if I'm wrong?
Man, this is yeah. But,
But
I mean,
this is
I-
that's gone. You know.
yeah,
which
I think
is
when we
great.
got back to the power line, we were, at least I know myself,
Yeah.
and Johnny, you had made a comment about my eyes and my you know, demeanor. You know, after
Oh
we
yeah,
got
he looked
about
like
Mhm.
I've seen that look 1,000 times, and it's
yeah
Oh yeah.
after it's
that
you get into it.
It's
that
the
look.
stunned look. It's the stunned
Well,
look where
that
you're trying to process what you
well, I think it was Johnny said he made a very good comment. He said, you know, he goes, man, you look like, you know, we just got done with a firefight,
Well,
right?
that's exactly how he
Mhm.
looked.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I ain't gonna lie, man. When we got back, I mean, I was glad to sit down. Never pull out the chair. We sat there because I mean, whether the adrenaline dump, but man, yeah, I mean, you felt. I mean, I felt wiped out. You know, and
Yeah.
it's not like we were running. You know, but man, I mean, short of pulling, you know, pulling a trigger and changing mags, you know, that's what that coming down was like, you know.
Well,
And
we got video of it because I made sure to take video of it because I don't know if I
yeah,
look the same way, but you know looking
yeah,
in your eyes, you could tell
yeah,
it has affected you.
yeah,
Well, when we have three different people here of different levels of what we've seen, whereas Joe, you had that one witness a long time ago. Um, Johnny, you've had that one witness one time, and I've had numerous day sightings. All of them, a few hundred yards away, binoculars or on a ridge line. But I never had the type that I've had either. And we
right,
all processing it at our different levels.
yeah,
Because I'm still sitting here trying to, even in the back of my mind, every now and then I'm going, that thing was spider walking.
right.
I've heard of it one time, and now I just witnessed it. It's just
And
crazy.
I have
That
another
was
question about that.
Yeah.
When y'all were watching it, when it was going across the power line and it was moving so weird, do you think that some of its propulsion or whatever the word is might be because of that mid-tarsal brake that we believe they have working like maybe almost like an ankle, like helping it move
I think that's probably helping it. I think the way that it was moving across, it was doing the two front arms were going together, and the two back legs were coming in.
What do you mean?
But it was,
At the same
It was
time?
like
yes, but it was staying, yes, but it was staying flat enough. You wouldn't have noticed it. Yeah, it certainly was. It was doing like a scissor thing,
yeah,
but it was great. It was almost graceful, as fast as it was flowing across. But it was doing two by two is what it was doing. Two front, two back.
that's the word right there, Scott. Graceful. You know.
Yeah.
Almost like a jackrabbit would run.
Wow.
Oh yeah, but even with more finesse than that.
Yeah,
I mean, it was doing 2 and 2. Yes,
yeah,
had to be how it was jumping across.
very smooth.
I still don't understand the mechanics of it. Like
No.
I can see it in my head, but I can't describe to you how it was even accomplishing that, what it was doing. It was
Well, before you came out of the tree line, and I'm sitting there looking down there with binoculars, it more or less walked out in the spider walk. It just cruised out and stopped.
Well, when it walked out, was it doing one by one?
Yeah.
But then
It did that, and I looked at it. It was doing one at a time, and it had to be the elbows up, and maybe the knees up. I don't know how to describe that. And the head was up, and it clearly looked to the left, and then you walked into my binocular lens, and then I took off the binoculars and saw you put them back on, and it turned to the left and went back in. So I seen it do the one at a time step. And then I saw it do that fluid, graceful glide across the field. I mean, it was all on the spider walk, and it's two different ways it walked. And that's just everything I saw was upright or squatting down, peeking behind a tree before. This is different.
Yeah,
Crazy,
it
crazy.
was like alien looking to me. I mean, it was
Yep.
just
Yeah.
I had a friend. I had a friend who had one, a young one, right before his eyes just drop down and slank right through the woods and leave. And that was in the dark. That was at night, but we had white light on it. He said it same thing. The gray face, jet black, and it just dropped down and just blended right, just disappeared. And this very similar to that, but ours was crossing the field. I mean, we had clear sight. Crazy.
Well, I was looking in the video we got where me and Joe came together, and I'm walking towards the creek, and you could see it moving around. I didn't see it at all, and I'm looking.
You weren't looking. You weren't looking. Yeah, you weren't looking for it.
I'm looking where my camera's looking, but I don't think it's gone, or I think it's gone. There's no way that I thought. I don't know. I don't know how far away that is in the video. Maybe 30 yards again. Maybe that's the magic number. Maybe 30 yards is. I don't know. But like the one I got on thermal out here, he was about the same distance, about 30 yards. So I don't know if there's I don't know. None of it really makes any sense for. I learned a very important lesson. There's no standard with these things, just because you think, because I honestly thought me and Joe by this time had been out there too long. We had made too much noise. We were leaving, and there was no way that we were going to sneak up on something. And we probably didn't. I think it was probably intentional,
I think as a juvenile, they make mistakes.
Yeah.
Everything makes a mistake every now and then. They say Bigfoot don't ever let you see it unless it wants to be seen. Well, that's your seasoned adults, okay? Not an inexperienced out there that's
even then that doesn't make sense, because like you said, everything that lives makes mistakes.
That's right. That's right. And I think by its size, it was a juvenile or female, and it got caught up with the tree stuff over there, and you walked up on it when it had all its attention on what was going on over there until the last second, and it was standing right there looking at you because it knew what the heck is this, and you caught him.
It definitely wanted us to follow him. I know that.
But that's the curious thing. Why was it drawing you all the way back over there? They never travel alone, as what what I'm taught.
For all we know, there was two of them, and the one you saw wasn't the same one we saw. They're just looked the
could have
same.
been.
I don't know. We have
the one that led you over there could have been distracting you from the one you did see.
Well, the one I saw at first, and then the one that went across the pipeline. The one that went across the pipeline looked bigger than what I saw. But like I said, he was kind of in looked like a semi-crouched position. So maybe he was bigger, but I just couldn't tell because from the rest of his body, like I didn't see separation in his stomach and his legs. Like it was all just together. I could just tell he was crouched by just his position. So I don't know. I really don't know. I know exactly what he was. Now, I don't know if it was the same one that went across, the same color, but it was great. I know that. We're going back out there tomorrow.
He was either leading y'all into a trap or trying to get you away from little brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing, Andy, right there. We've discussed this a few times in Messenger. It's like, the next time out there, how do we, our group and team members, how do we make movement going back towards that creek again? to try to maximize, obviously, a visual, another sighting. Um, I, it's hard to say. I mean, this thing was very quiet. That's what got me, was like, man, at any point this thing could probably tap us on our shoulder, Johnny and I on our shoulder, and we would have never heard it coming.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Before these sightings, we found some evidence. We found some prints. We heard some things. That's different. Now you have a sighting and it's verified, and we know at a minimum there's one. And we can't, and we don't see them, like Joe just said. We don't see them.
And a daddy too, I promise.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I told Mike, because Mike's coming out there with us. We're out there because of them picking him up and putting him back in his truck a couple 100 yards away to get him out of there. That's why we started going out there, and then we just started messing around with their kids. So, I mean,
always.
I guess we're about to find out, aren't we?
We're about to find out. So, but I couldn't be happier. And like I said, I knew, I've always known, I trusted myself. I trusted you guys. There's always that little bit of, what if I'm just wrong? What if I gotten everything wrong? What if I'm just an idiot? Every once in a while you second guess yourself. And then after this, it's like even my wife, I told her about it. She said, but what if? And I said, you can't do that anymore. You can't do that ever again. It's not going to work. You're not going to talk me out of it, because I saw it. All three of us saw it. So,
I kicked myself.
She was happy for us,
Yeah, I mean, I kicked myself. We had cameras. You had a GoPro.
I had 2 cameras.
And me, I mean, I was telling a friend of mine, I said, dang it, man. I said, you know what? Rifle in hand. I said, man, it would have been quick, right? Shoulder sight, trigger squeeze. But man, I was jaw dropped, like, and sat here and watched this thing just walk on by.
It don't even come to you to take a picture either. Not horrible.
Dang cameras in my hand, and then even after all this, we're trying to get videos of this and that, and I said, dude, it's like a damn noob. I'm not even hitting the red button. I was zooming in and out, but I'm not hitting the red button.
Well, you might have remembered what Johnny said to me when y'all were walking up to the truck after I was pointing at y'all and yelling. And I said, it was right behind you, Johnny, just walking up, y'all walking up tired, going, did you film it? I'm like, I was looking at it through binoculars. And I was still trying to process it was a spider walk.
I would have been happy that day if we just found a new bed. That was kind of like, when we first went in the woods, Johnny, I was like, hey, we're going to go back to where we found that one bed from the first visit. And I was going to be okay if we found another one next to it, and hey, success. What happened blew my mind. It kind of verified exactly what happened to me several years ago. Obviously, I mean, this time it was, I wasn't behind a spotting scope. I mean, this was right. I mean, rock distance, there in front of me. And again, how quiet it was, Angie. That's the spooky part right there. It was.
The animals know. The animals know.
Quiet until it got further.
Until it wanted to make noise.
Yeah, and then it was obvious as all get out.
One of the deer hunters that I interviewed that talked about his encounter, hearing one come through, he said it was exactly like it wanted everything to hear it when it was coming through, and then when it was leaving, it was just like it was stepping on sticks on purpose, breaking stuff on purpose, wanted to be heard.
Isn't that interesting how they can be as loud as they want to be when they want to be, and then they can go dead silent. You won't even know they're there. Yeah. Doesn't matter the size. But you know,
That weird crawl might be a reason sometimes prints just kind of disappear.
that's right.
Yeah, that's from after watching that. There's no doubt in my mind that, and I know other people think that they can do all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not saying that some things aren't possible, but from what I've seen, there is a natural explanation for everything that's happened, even with the like being able to just disappear out of thin air. I mean, when the way it looks, especially when it gets inside of a wood line or just on the ground, and then the way it can move like that, it's just no wonder that, I mean, it can just disappear.
Yeah, it definitely can move. It uses the shadows, you know.
Right. Well, even in the video clip we put up when you and I are walking towards it, like you can tell as it looks like it's looking at us, and there's a tree between us. And then when we get line of sight where I'm directly behind the tree, it moves. And
That's
then
a
I
good
get on the
point,
other
Johnny.
side of the tree, and then it moves some more. It's like it's doing, and I was the same way. I referenced the thermal video out here where I watched it. I was looking at it. There was a tree between us. And I knew if I got to the left side, I'd be able to see right down through that tree, and I'd be able to see him. So as I moved to my left, it would move. And then when it realized I was trying to get around that tree, it goes, pew! It takes off and hides. They understand a lot more than people give them credit for, I think. They understand line of sight. They know exactly how to move. They know how to...
Their reflexes are just phenomenal.
They're very self-aware, too, because they've got to know... You know, I wouldn't doubt if they compare notes with their family members. Like, hey, man, I'm going to go jump over here. Tell me what I look like, you know?
Well, you know, the Bigfoots don't get to be parents by getting caught all the time.
Right.
So who's teaching the young ones?
Mm-hmm.
I bet that young one right there got scolded for getting caught like that.
Unless he was sitting out.
Or he was showing his butt.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
watch this. Watch what I'm about to do.
He was in his terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
Well, I gotta tell you, the first time we went out there, we found all kinds of physical evidence, and then we heard stuff, and now we have seen the actual creature itself.
So
Who knows?
Next time y'all gonna get to touch it.
Who knows what we're going to find tomorrow?
I've got it rigged up. I've got my pack rigged up, and I've got these clamps. I'm going to have at least 2, maybe 3 cameras mounted on my pack, pointed in 2 different directions, and I'm going to have my Lumix in front of me. I've got every battery pack and every battery that you could think of. Everybody,
you're gonna electrocute yourself out there in the woods, and what you're gonna do?
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. That's right.
That's a good name for him.
Yeah. Well, if I would have been doing my Inspector Gadget routine, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We'd be on Channel 6 right now, being like, "Told you."
We're gonna find something new this trip.
I'm excited for y'all.
We'll get it.
Hey, someone asked, like here, Boots on the Ground with Barb asked, are you thinking about making a gifting area, not food, but maybe crystals or marbles?
Yes, I am bringing some of that stuff for this trip. And I went out shopping for it today. Got a few things. We're going to bring some glow sticks. Someone's going to pick those up. Some peanut butter. I've got some trinkets and a few bells. Few bells for them to ring at night while we're in camp.
I heard they like the color blue.
Blue and red. Yep. So yes, we are. Good question.
Yeah. We're gonna throw the kitchen sink at it.
See, eventually, when Angie comes out as bait, as another investigator.
Our little squatch bait. Yeah,
exactly. Because she seems to, like, her first time out. She's getting orbs. She's getting tent stakes pulled up.
Oh yeah.
Angie, I think you need to come out and experience this.
I'm going out in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
and
That's
his
right.
family.
You guys are, but man, I'm telling you, this is I don't know.
Going back to the swamp in June.
Ugh, okay.
In June.
The swamp.
Good Lord.
Right.
Oof. Go about that same spot?
I want to go out there, but yeah, I was gonna talk to you about it.
Yeah, okay. Let me know.
Yeah, well, Homer wants to do something on the river, so and Billy wants to go, so I thought we'd go back to that same spot.
Yeah, we need to we need a bigger group than what we took last time. Most definitely to go down there. 4 was not enough.
Mm-mm.
So that's another story for another time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
Angie seems like a magnet for these things too, because I mean, her
Yep.
field investigation. I mean, you guys
It's
had
something about all of us like joining forces or something. It's like,
but hell, man. I mean, look, I don't plan on giving up the ground. I mean, you guys
Nope.
packed the shit up and left. I said, I got.
you would
I said, dude,
you would've left.
We don't retreat.
you would have left though that night. You would have left. I promise you.
it was creepy in the daytime.
Mhm.
Well,
Hard to
man,
describe, but
yeah.
This trip we're going on this time right now, I hope to branch out a little further into some areas that we have not scouted. Try to find a little bit more of their terrain and where they hang out. Get a gift site going.
We got to get
And
back
set-
in that bamboo.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think
we got to get.
back there in that bamboo spot right there by the creek. I think.
That's one. But we need to get on the other side of the creek and search the swamp on the other side up the hill.
Yeah.
Back up in that area. So that's where they all seem to be coming from, in my opinion, and where that one was fleeing to. So there's something over there.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude, but man, we need to recruit a wee squatcher, someone who is like under 4'9". And you squatcher. Yeah,
No, I'm 4'6".
no, but
I mean
can
5'6".
I know. I was saying, can you put out a post that we need a wee squatcher,
Okay, what's it for?
short person that we can throw over the creek
Somebody Joe can look down on.
and can walk under the brush because
Yes.
and then we can mount a GoPro on them and then
Yes.
There you go.
Is that the politically correct version? A wee squatcher?
Well, I mean, it's a midget,
Well, it's Irish. A wee little person.
a mini squatcher. I mean, no.
It's not going to be me. I know that.
And for most of the time, he can ride on Scott's shoulders.
Yeah, there you go. I could be like I could be like Johnny's little Johnny, on his shirt there.
That's what we're calling.
Take one of these non-believers that likes to give me a hard time and let them just go on over there and crawl through the brush with the camera.
That's right, because you know what, they can.
They don't
let
believe.
them do all that. Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, I get it. Like I was talking about before, even with all the stuff that I've seen and done, there's still a little bit of doubt, So I understand how people don't, when they haven't seen it themselves or had experiences. What I don't understand is how you couldn't look at this world and our ecosystem and the size of it and everything else and think that we've just discovered everything,
Or just assume, just be firm that they don't exist, but yet you've never looked at the evidence.
Right.
Because you yourself haven't seen one. I know they don't. I'm a hunter. I've been in the woods 1,000 times and I've never seen one.
Well, I was a hunter before I started this and actually physically hunting in October of 19 and in the military and crawled through the woods and went hunting for deer. And I knew how to find deer. I knew how to hunt people, look for trails and boot prints and different things like that. But when I was taught how to hunt Bigfoot, it's a whole different area of things you have to learn and know. And I haven't seen everything and I haven't done everything, and I fully admit it because no one is an expert in this field. but I have been all over the South with some very experienced people, and you can't convince me that there aren't Bigfoot out there. Okay, and for those who say there isn't, you're entitled to your opinion. Get out there and start looking with somebody who has before, and your eyes once you start seeing signs, your eyes are open.
Yep.
Once you've seen Bigfoot like we all have now, or you've heard them, you've seen the evidence, your eyes are starting to open up and seeing all that stuff that was probably always there. You just didn't see it before. It's there.
All the
It is.
eyewitness encounter reports from reputable people,
Hmm.
people that have no reason to lie.
Right.
We just did it. We just went from scratch
Hmm.
and walked it all the way through to the end.
Hmm.
And that's what I want. Even if you hate my guts, you don't like me, you don't trust me, you don't believe me, that's fine. But I'm telling you, if you want to figure it out for yourself, you can do that. You can start from scratch and you can learn all this stuff, talk to the witnesses, go to the right area, and then get to the end. You can prove it to yourself. And that's what we've been doing. And couldn't have worked out any better for us on this last time. I mean,
Well, I can say this too, along with that. Every time you go out and hunt for Bigfoot, you're not always going to find something.
No.
It's difficult, but when you research it, you listen to some eyewitnesses, you kind of zero in on an area, you go and research it during the day and scout, you're going to have success. You're going to find something. Promise you. So they're out there.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
That's right.
Good, guys.
man,
I'm glad
it's been a good podcast. I'm
Yeah.
glad that we were able to get this done without any technical issues. So thank goodness.
Yeah, I know. Scott.
Yeah.
It's always Scott.
It was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
And
That's what makes me mad is I just bought a brand new computer that that came from NASA probably, and Scott's laying in his bed with a freaking cell phone.
That's right. Mine works.
Better than mine. Oh man,
it's all good though.
We're gonna have a great time. We get out there this time, and your battery goes dead. Wait. It's gonna be funny.
Oh God.
Hey, y'all take some manual cameras, some of them that, them old timey ones.
You mean like a Polaroid or a Nokia?
No, like one of them.
You mean a flip phone?
No, like one of them where you look on a camera roll.
Oh God, oh my.
Oh.
All right,
If
let's
everything
see.
goes dead, that might be your only option.
Well, they only got them down. They only still sell them where you're at down there, Angie. Well, they don't have them up here no more.
Happy is bringing one that actually, I can't remember what he said it was, but it actually writes to a DVD.
I have a question for you, Johnny.
Oh no.
How did you pinpoint in to see those in those clips?
Yeah.
I looked and looked.
Because I knew. Because I saw it. I knew what I was looking for. I knew the color scheme.
Wow.
I knew the exact color scheme. And just like I said in that video, there's no way I would have saw it if I hadn't have just seen him 6 minutes before that.
So you kind of knew where to look and kind of what you was looking
well,
at.
That also, like
I got a bail. Guys. I will see you tomorrow. You guys tomorrow at some point.
Okay.
It's been a great time. Thanks for all the questions, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Thanks, Scott.
I think it's like this, Angie. Like like hunters. They beginning of the season, or they have to get out. They have to get their eyes calibrated on the color and shading of a deer, the color shading of the elk, right? Because you hear it all the time. People say, "Oh, now my eyes are calibrated to know what to look for."
Okay.
In Johnny's sense, he saw exactly color, shading, size,
I
shape.
was just wondering if you had a computer program or something that.
But you did send it a video clip. Did you
Yeah.
did you send it off to get someone to look at it? Through
Yeah,
a special-
Robert Kreider, I believe he said he's getting some type of AI program that he can run it through. I don't know exactly what it does, but I'm assuming it looks for probably stabilizes
Gotcha.
things and probably enhances movement or whatever. I don't really know, but
Okay.
that was it. That, and I had, I went the wrong way at first. I went right instead of left. So Joe sees it. We know where it went, and we walked right up in that direction, and then we wound up finding the prints there. So we knew that he went through there 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was going back through the video, that helped because I knew exactly where he went, and I also had just seen him, so I knew exactly what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. By God, he's right there underneath that, and that's what's crazy. Even I didn't know that. I didn't realize he was that close when you and I walked out. When Scott said that it walked out and then turned around and walked back in when we came out, I didn't realize he was that close to us when he did that. What'd he say? 10 yards?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something like that, 10,
That's
15 yards?
that's just weird.
30 feet
It's
away.
a little much, but after seeing them and watching what they do, there's just no. I am not surprised at all.
Well, y'all be careful this week.
Oh yeah, we will. There's going to be there's probably going to be about 5 of us out there, 5 or 6 of us at different times. But yeah, we will. We'll be careful. Excited though. Hopefully we get something else to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
All right, guys.
Great podcast. You guys
All
have
right,
a good
well,
evening.
Joe, I'll see you tomorrow. Angie, I will talk to you later on.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good evening.
All right.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.